Welcome to another episode of Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Ben, week one is in the books.
We got one done.
We,
It's the
we,
most exciting week of the season for everyone because it's always an unknown. And let's just go say it that looking at our fantasy league this year, I think it's just as much as an unknown as the NFL because I don't know that we predicted all the games right. I don't think we could have predicted all the games right, but here we are.
I think if there's one thing to bet on in the NFL right now, it's that Chiefs are going to be in the Super Bowl. Uh, I don't. They're even better than what they were before. But anyways, this week we're going to break down week one. We're just going to talk about week one a little bit. We got waiver wire Wednesday is what I'm going to call it. I think I tried doing this some last year, but I'm going to try to bring it back up. We'll go over the waiver wire that took place at 2 a.m. So most days we'll record this on Wednesday nights. I'll actually break it down, and Ben and I will do our own little analysis of it. Who overbid because we'll be able to see it. Um, so yeah, we'll do waiver wire Wednesdays. We're gonna do power rankings. So with our power rankings, we're just gonna state the top two teams in the league, then who's at the bottom. So just because you're at the bottom or you're at the top doesn't mean you're the best team. It's just in this moment, at that particular moment, you're up there amongst the top. Like
Yep.
Clark, spoiler alert, he's gonna be in the top. He shouldn't be, but I'm gonna put him there for now. Um, After we talk about our power rankings, we'll do week two matchup breakdowns, and then after that, that might be it. We might bring up some other stuff if questions get brought up during the podcast here, or whatever. So, um, with that being said, Ben, how are you feeling about week one?
Not great. Um, I'll just be honest. I believe I predicted that I would lose in week one,
You did.
and I was right. I did not expect it to turn out the way that game did, though, because, uh, like I said before, when AJ and I play each other, there's always something about those matchups, and I think this time what it was it was kind of down to the wire, and honestly, after Sunday, I thought I had no business even trying to keep up with AJ. I thought my team just did not look that good off the bat. And clearly, I should have had a little bit more faith in San Francisco's defense and Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
Because they came out big, they came out roaring for me, and managed to give me a loss by two, which if you're going to lose, I guess that's better than getting blown out. But sometimes it's just a little bit more heartbreaking because, yeah, I'm sitting there at one point just going, all I need is Deebo Samuel to catch a pass for 15 yards or a
Mm-hmm.
touchdown, do anything, run for 20 yards, or if I could just get San Francisco's defense to get two more sacks, stuff like that. So it's a little bit more heartbreaking at that point. I'm like, dang it. So I guess I feel better about my team now, but yeah, it wasn't positive on my mind on Monday. Like, uh, just with completely unrelated stuff outside, like work and other stuff. Monday was just not a good day. So much so, I got home from work and went straight to bed.
Whew.
Up to catch the very last minute of the 49ers
Yeah.
game. So, yeah, a little false hope, I guess, but you know, I just gotta say it. AJ manages to put together these teams that they're good. They always cause me trouble, and once again, you done it again, AJ. So my hat's off to you, buddy.
So I know that game. I think I just said it was going to be decided within a few points. I thought it was going to be higher scoring between you two. Not going to lie.
I
Uh,
did too.
I still think both your all's teams are just fine. It's just that's kind of what happens whenever. I mean, somebody has to lose, right? So
Right.
um, we had uh, Taylor. Well, I was picked his team to be the best going last week. He still had a good week. I mean, he lost with 118 points. He would have beat everybody but two people. One of them was who he played, another one was Rob and I.
Yep.
So he had a great week, stat wise. What I will say about his team, though, I was still banking a lot on those Jets, and they did not look that good.
Yep.
Um, so we'll probably break that down a little bit more later. Um, Little Josh tried his magic with me, like he always does. It's like, you're gonna win this week. I'm like, yeah, I am. Like that's just how I beat Josh. I just like, you're right. My team is gonna beat you. Then in the Dynasty League, I was playing him too, so he didn't just get spanked once; he got spanked twice. So
I love little Josh to death, but we just finished week one, and I can tell you, little Josh is already in panic mode.
oh, he is.
Like, oh yeah,
I mean, the Dynasty League, I'd like to think he's okay.
I've already got trade offers from Josh. So I was like, dude, it's 1 week. Like, if I'm not freaking out, you shouldn't be freaking out because our teams almost put up the exact same scores.
Yeah,
Like, looking at the league, it's a very wide variety of scores, but really, the majority of the league scored somewhere in the realm of 90 to 100 points.
hmm,
And I think we talked about this last season too. I think those are really kind of some lower scores for us.
I that tends to be the case. Like week one every year, that tends to be a little bit lower than usual. So, um, shaking off
I've
the
got
rust and stuff like
yeah,
that.
and I've got some theories on that, but I think that if you kind of look at some of the games from this past weekend, um, the draft this year really indicated that wide receivers were probably more of a important piece to your team than maybe a running back because we saw a lot more wide receivers taken higher
Yeah.
than usually before. And it's like the running backs heard that and they came out with a vengeance and were just running all over defenses.
Yeah.
And those star receivers who are supposed to have giant games were putting up like 2, 3 points.
Yeah.
So I guess it's probably just working out the kinks more than anything. Like, 2 weeks from now, we'll probably be like, oh no, everything's settled back in. So we'll see.
Yep. All right. Let's get into the waiver wire. So what we can't see from the app is other people that put in bids and didn't win. I'm gonna pull up the screen. Ben, I know you can't see this, but you can look at it through your device. But we're gonna look at the waiver wire with Fab offers. I think there was 5 that went through with Fab bids this morning.
Mhm.
So we'll talk about the big one first, and this was Isaiah Likely. Rob and I won this bid. We outbid Orscheln by 11. So we bid $28. The next highest bid was 17. So we could have got away with it at 18. We might have had waiver on Andrew. I'm unsure, but I mean this. I mean, I think if you're plus 5 or more, or 5 or more outbidding, then you did overbid. So Rob and I, we overbid on this. Um, I will say this one was the most appealing one out there this week. We had 6 people bid on this.
Yep.
Um, Not gonna lie, I watched that Chiefs Ravens game. I know Mark Andrews is there. The Chiefs have a history of shutting him down, which I would too. But man, Lamar was looking for Likely. Like he was just zoned in. So I think the chemistry that they built last year, they're doing a lot of 2 tight end sets. Um, we have Brock Bowers, who did have a good week as a rookie. He had plenty of receptions, 60 some odd yards. but this is somebody that could be a top shelf player.
I
This
think, yeah, I think with Isaiah Likely, um, what you're getting this year is number one, Mark Andrews' immediate backup if anything happens to him.
oh, there's that
Like,
too.
there's that. But yeah, Baltimore is clearly going to start running a little bit more two tight end sets. So they'll get him into the mix. And you look at Isaiah Likely's frame, and he's not really built like a Travis Kelsey, a Rob Gronkowski. He's not that type of frame. He's really just a big receiver, is
Hmm.
what he's really kind of there for. So I see the value on that, but I think more than anything, where his real value is going to be, it's not even this season. I think that after this season, he is either signed to a huge contract in Baltimore as the starting tight end, or he goes to find his fortune elsewhere as a starting tight end. But he will not be in Baltimore as the number two next year.
Probably not.
I
So
think he's good for that.
you know what little
Now,
Josh would call this, especially since I got him. Oh, Mitch got that next Marcus Colston.
oh God, you know what? Framing wise, like I was talking about his size and shape,
Yeah.
not it's not that different.
So, the next fab bid, uh, AJ taking Alexander Madison for
AJ, well
27.
done. Well done. Reach of the week, baby. Reach of the week.
I mean, this might be the reach of the season.
Yep.
I'm not. I think I'm more surprised that other people didn't bid at all. Uh,
Well, I explain that. It's what I like to call Raider syndrome. Now, all you need to know here is yes, there's plenty of reasons to go get Alexander Madison. He outsnapped the starting running back Zamir White. Um, I think I think Zamir had 23 snaps,
yeah, something like that.
and then Madison had 36. So
Hmm.
clearly they're leaning to Madison. Um, I'm going to point to the fact that the Raiders were basically playing from behind the majority of the game, and it's pretty clear that they are not a power offense right now. So I think it's more akin to when you watch those bad teams and they know they're going to have to throw more, they're putting in the faster running back.
Someone you could throw
So,
to.
yeah. So I don't know that I believe Madison's going to be getting that similar kind of workload every week. I actually think that Zamir White is probably the better player of the two. There's a reason that they listed him as the starter.
Yep.
So, you know, all I'm saying is, AJ, I think you could have gotten him for $2 instead of 27.
I mean, if I had to guess how much he was going to go for, I was guessing somewhere around 10 or 15. Um, Now, what I'll say with AJ, he did the same thing. The same reason he did a high bid on him was the same thing I did for Likely. I wanted insurance because I had Brock Bowers, one for sure. AJ's hurting on running back. He needs running backs, and sometimes week one, that's the week to hit it hard to get those right waivers, and you could kind of calm down a little bit.
Yep.
So it's high bid, not as high as the other one, but the difference. I mean, yeah, that's $27 that got left out there. I'll say 26 rather. The next closest was Cameron at $0.
Yep.
So um, the next one, Rob and I got again. Alan Lazard. Now we spent $39 of our fab budget week one.
Yeah.
Um,
Not I agree with that, but
I I
please.
was I was not expecting to get both of these players. We put in 5 bids this week,
Oof.
but some of them were like if like they were double, two different players for the same person. Like I had two for Alan Lazard, depending on if I got Likely or not. And I thought there's gonna be more bids for Lazard. He got a lot of passes thrown to him. I think it was like 7 receptions. Uh, Aaron Rodgers he trusts him. Um, and well, Puka is out. He's going to IR for at least 4 weeks. Could be
Yep.
longer. Um, and it's one of those where it's a little bit of a flyer, but it could be something where that's going to pay heavy. Um, I
Mhm.
still have other good wide receivers. I might be sitting them on him. We might not ever play him, but yeah, we took him. And then Cameron was the only other one to bid on him. So at $2. Don't worry, Cameron. We'll get to the one that you did win. We're getting to it. Um, the but yeah, no, that's why I took Lazard. So I don't think it was a 1 week wonder since there's already chemistry between those two.
I think there's going to be some use there, but I also think I think when Mike Williams is really healthy, that's going to cut into whatever shares he's getting. So whatever he's seeing right now, I think that probably within 4 to 6 weeks, that's going to kind of do a little bit of that. I'm not going to say it plateaus all the way down to the bottom, but I think that it is going to drop a little bit.
It very well might. And then Aaron Rodgers also stubborn enough. He's like, no, I want him in there. So because they did
It,
play Alan Lazard a lot of money too.
yeah.
So
So if it's a comfort thing for Aaron Rodgers, then yeah, he'll stay in that game forever.
yeah,
But I think that there's a lot of talent with the Jets. I just don't think they've put it all together, and we'll get into that later.
yep. Next one, Baker Mayfield to Mike. He's getting a little nervous with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I don't blame him on this because I have Joe Burrow in a couple other leagues, and well, let's just put it in terms of this. So my Chiefs are playing Cincinnati this week. I am so confident right now that they can pull out that win just based on how they played last week. Like, if you're a Cincinnati fan, like you're just barely above the line of panic mode because
Mm-hmm.
that was, and it's not like New England was doing anything amazing. New England just figured out run the ball, good
Mm-hmm.
defense, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. That was it. Like there's a guy at work who is a Patriots fan, and even he was like, we really didn't have any business winning that game.
Well, it's true. I mean, like in our survival pick'em thing, 3 people got knocked out because they picked Cincinnati. I originally had Cincinnati. And after I saw T. Higgins going to be out and Jamar Chase is just kind of question mark, I'm like, I'm not picking them. Like, this is just asking for upset. And Cincinnati usually does not do good at the beginning of the season. So, um,
Nope.
yeah,
And it kind of looks like maybe they didn't make the best moves in the offseason because apparently Joe Mixon left and goes to the Texans and pretty well has the best game he's ever had.
hmm
So I don't know. I if if you're telling me the beginning of the season, I think we all kind of thought Cincinnati was trying to get back in the mix and be like that playoff caliber team.
it's my Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, watching them this weekend, oh no, you cannot pay me to put a bet on that team.
So let's just say I'm not feeling too good about my Super Bowl pick. If I could change it right now, I would, but I'm gonna ride it out. Maybe they'll
No,
rebound.
I think we should be allowed to have one alternate. Change it, but you need to decide which week we're allowed to do it.
I'm not
Like
changing it. I'm not changing it.
I I'm not going to let you change it tonight. But I'm going to say I will allow you one revisit to change it, and I'm going to say either week 4 or week 6. You pick which one.
Okay.
All right. So just to keep things interesting.
That's same to you, so that way you have an opportunity to put the Eagles in there if you want.
Oh no, boy. What?
All right. Um. Yeah, Baker Mayfield. I think that's a good one. I think that's a low risk, high reward type kind of thing. He played well.
Baker
So
really looks coming along pretty well down there. Like it's like he finally found his footing. So I got to give them props. Baker in Tampa Bay. It looks like Baker finally found home,
yeah,
and I can't begrudge anyone that. Like he's had a kind of a rough road, and if he's finally found that fan base that can appreciate him
oh yeah.
and he can perform, good on him, man. Because it's so hard to find that in the NFL these days.
You gotta wonder too. The stuff he's seeing in Cleveland with Sean Watson's like, why'd you get rid of me?
Yep.
Like, this is kind of what you deserve. So, but
Yep.
and then the last one, Tank Bigsby, Cameron 1-1. Uh, he bid on four of these fives, and he won one. And it was a tie bid. He got it on waiver number against Little Josh. So
You know what? During our draft, I kept telling everyone, you got to take Tank Bigsby. Here we are. You're taking Tank.
going wink.
It's like I predicted this, you know?
So
I'm not saying I'm an oracle or anything, but it looks like maybe I might be, at least to Cameron.
yeah. So before we wrap up waiver wire, who won waiver wire this week? You can use any criteria you want, either by barely getting it by bid, by the player caliber that they got, and the difference of bid. However you want to go about it.
I'm actually going to go ahead and say that I think waiver wire win is actually Mike with the Baker Mayfield because, again, what he's doing there is he's plugging in somebody because he's got a concern on his roster, but he managed to do it without going crazy in the bid. So it's not bad. Also, Baker Mayfield just came off a pretty monster game. So, Baker Mayfield, it was almost 30 fantasy points for him this past week. So he was one of the highest scoring quarterbacks in the league. And Mike got him for $9. So I think Mike probably got the best value there, considering his situation and what potentially that could mean. So I think that's probably your best value.
So looking at just this week, I will also give it to Mike, but I want to make a small note about likely. That is keeper potential depending on how things play out this year in the offseason. So that could pay way bigger dividends than anything else right here. So,
Or if
um,
he keeps playing like this, you might be saying the same thing about Baker Mayfield.
that's true. That is true. So Mike is playing two Tampa players. So that is one thing to consider.
I
So
believe you call that the Wombo combo.
the Wombo combo has to be QB wide receiver, man.
Oh,
Unless White's catching touchdowns, like
you,
Saquon Barkley, I'll give it a Wombo combo with that. Um, but anyways, the loser who lost.
it's AJ.
I mean, it has to be AJ, right? $26 left out there. I think if AJ got it for about 10 or 15, that one would have been just fine. So, but that
AJ, do you want to just text the league and tell everyone drunk when you did that? I'm fine with it. I will buy that. But if you're gonna tell me you're sober when you did that, then all right, then I'm gonna give you some grief over this.
so, all right, that's it for this week's waiver wire. Power
Ooh,
rankings. We're gonna go ahead and transition over to that. Uh, I know you can't see it, well, unless you pulled up on your end, Ben, but I have the league standings.
I've got
So,
it.
so who do you put at your top two right now, in no particular order?
Oh God, I mean, at the current rate, you have to give it to the top two. Like the one and two, like, look, oh my God. Again, I was talking about the scores. Most of the league pretty solidly in the range of 90 to like 105 or something like that.
Hmm.
Like they're kind of this 15-point mark where at least 2/3 of the league was in it. But then you have Matt Clark, who dropped 153 points in the first week. And then, yeah, you have you and Rob with 146, but that's not nearly as impressive as Matt's
And
because you.
one thing I want to add to that. So Rob and I seem like after this draft, and I'm gonna try saying this in the most unbiased way. Our team was like considered one of the better teams in the league. Clark's team is like I think you're in the bottom six, but he might have the best player in the whole league with Saquon. Now, can that continue? It might. If it does, Clark's team's going to be a problem because he had other players clicking too. So I don't know, Clark. You might have the best team here. It definitely showed up week one, and now
Yeah,
I got to play a week two. So that will be fun. I hope Jalen Hurts throws, according to Steve earlier today, 5 touchdown bombs to AJ Brown. Give
I
me that.
mean, I remind you too, while you're playing Clark right now in your lineup, you guys have Hollywood Brown from the Chiefs in your starting lineup, and
He's probably
no,
not going to be there.
I say no guarantee he's playing, but even if he is, the guy feeding him the ball is Matt Clark's quarterback.
Yep.
So it's
It's
it's a
that'll be the last breakdown matchup we'll do this week is between that. I don't know what Rob and I are going to put there yet. It might even be Lazard. I don't know yet. We have options. We'll get to that whenever that game starts or whenever we get
yeah,
to that breakdown. So, um, you
yeah.
got.
The top two though pretty clear. It's pretty
I would agree.
because they're almost 50 points above everyone else. So, oof, yeah. Way to go, boys.
Oh,
Wish that.
way to go, Clark. He wasn't even considered last week being one of the top teams, and right now I'm putting him at one.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
I
now the bottom.
uh oh boy. I feel like you should take the first swing at that.
Cameron, easy clap, easy dub right there.
Yeah.
And I'll even say I called it. I was pretty confident when I called it. I do think that's going to rebound. We're not there yet. Cameron's team won't be at the bottom whenever we get halfway into the season. His challenge will it be good enough, and will he start winning soon enough to make the playoffs?
Yep.
That's his challenge. I think Harrison's going to get going. I think Murray's going to do better than what he did.
Yep.
Um, it's just there are some question marks. Cooper Cup is going to get a lot of opportunities now that Puka's out. Uh, so he had plenty of targets this past week. So there are some pieces there, but they have to start clicking. My concern is for Cameron's team, it's not going to start clicking soon enough. So inconsistent enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I hate doing that to you, Cam, but it's pretty clear by being at the bottom of the list, you are at the bottom of the list right now. I think there's some debate onto what the other bottom tier team might be. Um, like points wise, it's Ryan and Mark. I don't know that I actually believe that to be the worst team. Um, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. And I'm sorry, man. I love you to death, but I think little Josh might actually be the other bad team right now. Jamar Chase clearly not up to form right now.
Yep.
Uh, DeAndre Swift in Chicago, I'm like, eh. Um, you know, it, Josh is banking on some things happening.
Yeah.
He kind of needs some things to change up, and I think it kind of plays into what I was saying earlier that those big name receivers did not come out on week one. We know they're going to.
Yep.
So once that happens, then I think Josh might see some benefit from that. Like, DK Metcalf didn't have a good week. Jamar Chase had 9 points. That's not
Hmm.
Jamar. So I think there's things that could easily change it up. But, as I told Josh earlier too, you put your money on Gus Edwards whenever he's never had anything really to write home about. And as I told him, J.K. Dobbins, when they were in Baltimore together, he was always the better running back. He just couldn't stay healthy. So get Dobbins out of a Baltimore system where they are willing to run him into the ground.
Yeah.
Uh, it, last week to me was kind of an indicator of, hey, if you take care of this guy, he's a top tier running back.
Yep.
So, we talked about this before, like last season. Sometimes all a player needs is a change of scenery to completely change who they are or what their story is.
Yep.
I'm I'm not going to say it for Dobbins just yet, but if you told me, I'm pretty close to believing it already.
Yeah.
So sorry, Josh. I think you'll turn it around in some ways, but uh, you might have to suffer through it a little bit. I think you and Cameron might be in a similar boat.
So I think Cameron is clearly at the bottom, and it's a toss up between Andrew and Josh. Now the reason I'm throwing Andrew in there is because he took a hit,
Yep,
losing Love
Jordan Love.
at least for a handful of weeks. Once you get him back, I think you'll be in the fight. You'll be in the middle somewhere. I think your team has potential big hitters. Its consistency is going to be the problem with your team, but I think your team could hit big any week. I just it's going to be one out of every 3 or 4 times. So,
Here, I'll go ahead and tell you about Andrew's problem. Number one, Andrew's problem is playing his favorites. Uh, as much time as Andrew Orsham likes to spend uh, hating on my Kansas City Chiefs, he looked really smart when he left Xavier Worthy on his bench. Good job, buddy. And then, see, and then, I'll give you props for playing Ramondre Stevenson. Solid move. I actually like that. But you left Zamir White in there. And again, I don't like it whenever I see two players from the same team in those skill positions.
yep,
You played Adams, your boy, and it's just not going to be a good year in Vegas because they are, in fact, the Raiders. I don't think it's always that smart to let the players pick their coach. That has not historically worked out well. I get to come to that conversation as a Chiefs fan where they allowed the players to pick Romeo Crennel as their coach. It didn't do anything for us, as I'm sure Ryan and Mark can tell you. It was not there. So I think there's a lot of things that can factor into some of these decisions, and it's fantasy football. What you're out there to do is score the most points. And the easiest way to ensure you're doing that is picking players from the teams that are going to win the most. And I think that Andrew has a pretty good portion of his roster built around teams that I think are going to have some losing records. So sorry, Andy.
all right, we are gonna transition into week 2 matchups. Starting with, I guess it'd help if I went to week 2, not week 1. Uh, we're gonna start with Taylor and Steve. Man, with how things are currently projected, there's a difference of only .11 points.
Well, I can give you my answer before I even look at this if you want.
Go for it.
All right. So without looking at my screen where I have the matchup here, I'm going to pick Steve. It's for the exact same reasons that I stated last week, which is I'm not crazy about having players from the same team. Clearly, it may not have been the best thing to have Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall last week. So I don't know if that's great. I feel, how do I put this? vindicated in my judgment on Najee Harris. I really don't think that that's worth it because let's be honest, him and Austin Eckler put up basically the exact same score. So not crazy about that. Justin Jefferson, okay, he got double digits. It was serviceable. Josh Allen carried Taylor's team massively last week, while Mark Andrews did all of nothing. That's basically because he was triple teamed on like every play. So, in general, if you took away Josh Allen and San Francisco's kicker, then Taylor's team had a really rough week.
Mm-hmm.
That those two players counted for over 50 points to Taylor's to Taylor's team. That being said, he got 118 points, but again, out of that, 57 of those points were from those two players. So again, take away the kicker, and Taylor's team really did not do well. Steve's team, on the other hand, I'm looking at that. There's a lot to like right now. James Conner looked really good. Matt Stafford and the Rams, they look pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
I love A.J. Brown. I really love A.J. Brown. Jalen Waddle is getting a little bit more looks as they kind of move the ball, but that also might be something to factor in this coming week because um, both of the top two running backs for Miami are potential injured players. So there's a chance that neither one of them take the field. And then they're either playing, what's his name, Jeff Smith or whatever, or the rookie. Those are the two options there. So I'll tell you right now, if they are down to just those two, do not be surprised if McDaniels decides that Jalen Waddle can do some stuff in working more as a slot kind of thing or using him in run
Mm-hmm.
zone plays. Like Waddle's that kind of guy where he can be versatile and put around. So would not surprise me on that. Still not crazy about the Chris Olave pick, but I get it. Just I don't buy it. So I will say Steve pulls this one out, but I will also say that I think Steve's chances are better if he plays somebody instead of Chris Olave.
Who do you think he should play?
Right now, I'd actually say Calvin Ridley, just because playing the Jets, I think that Tennessee is actually going to have to be playing from behind. So I think Tennessee is going to have to throw the ball a bit. Though, if you really, really want to be sneaky, I would tell you to go look at Justice Hill from Baltimore because that boy, when he got on the field against the Chiefs, he was doing some damage. You know, Derrick Henry, the starter and everything, but it's pretty clear that when they're going to a quicker offense, they're going to Hill. They're not putting in Henry. So just it's worth a thought. But maybe the answer there is that since Baltimore's playing Vegas, they might have some garbage time. So maybe they don't want Derrick Henry in there the entire game.
Yeah.
So
Man, this one's tough. I mean, for me, ultimately, I think Taylor's gonna win, and I think that's because the Jets are gonna rebound. He's banking a lot on the Jets. I will say what we saw last week was not promising. I was expecting more. I know you were playing against the 49ers. Maybe it was just rust, but uh, yeah, I think the Jets are better than that. They're playing a bad Tennessee team. This is a good game for them to rebound. Um, Josh Allen is going to show up. Uh, it being Thursday night in Miami, could be a little bit of a wild card, but I could see him blowing up even more. Um, I think Jefferson, even if it's against San Fran, you're going to get points out of him. Um, Harris, serviceable. I think it's going to be fine. I mean, you'll get anywhere between 6 to 11 points every week.
Yeah, there's no real huge upside.
Hmm.
You'll get consistency, but again, I'm just saying that I think you can get the same thing with Austin Eckler. So,
You can. So yeah, it's just looking at this. This one's tough. Like if Steve wins, I won't be surprised one bit. Um,
yep.
Taylor still does not have Nick Chubb in IR.
I I noticed it, and I just didn't feel like saying anything because, like, okay, use your brain, but then again, I was like, well, what's the chances he's looked at his roster yet this week? So,
I Because I see that, Steve, I'm rooting for you.
so
I'm
just on,
gonna pick Taylor because I do think the Jets are gonna rebound off of what they did last week. The Jets players will exceed what they are projected this week. So uh, that's where I'm at this. Very close
yeah,
game.
I don't think you're wrong about that. I still think team pulled that win.
All right, we got Drew and Little Josh. Oh boy, I could start off. Man, Drew took a hit this week. Now, if you would have known this news prior to the draft, would you still have drafted Christian McCaffrey #1 overall?
Uh, look, here's what we know.
We know
He's
McCaffrey can do it. Like we know what he is capable of.
what we're hearing right now is that so he didn't play one, but what we're hearing is that he's got like this what calf Achilles kind of injury, and what they're kind of saying
Well,
is like this be
two separate.
something
There's two separate injuries. There's the
right,
strained calf and then the Achilles tendonitis.
right, and one of those things is probably going to I don't know, maybe be something that rides him for the rest of the season. So I guess you kind of have your options here, which is you rest him and hope that that helps. And, based on their play on Monday, it doesn't look like they need him to win. Like, they looked really good. Mason ran all over them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that they're just a good enough team to where, yeah, they can go ahead and get their wins. They're not going to get you the perfect season without McCaffrey, but they can very much hold their own without him. So if they feel like sitting him, then yeah, I could see them doing that. But to tell me that, okay, you can draft McCaffrey with the first pick overall, he may miss a game or two. You're going to say no to that, knowing that he can drop a 50 burger on you if he feels like it? Like, I'm sorry, unless you have some guarantee that he's not going to be on the field, he's still the best running back in the league.
Yep.
There's not a question. So I think that you still have to take that pick.
With what you've seen with Saquon week 1, actually being on a good team.
I still say that Christian McCaffrey is still the best all around running back
Okay.
in the league.
Okay.
Saquon's a great number two, which is what we've all expected from him. Getting him on a different team, yeah, it looks like, okay, it turns out that can be. But again, that goes to speak about players finding a good home on a good team.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, like we're talking about Baker Mayfield. I love to use Alex Smith as an example. He got away from the 49ers, gets to Kansas City where a system that works with him, a coach that believes in him. Alex Smith, playoff contender.
Mm-hmm.
I think environment and system, team, it all adds up. And I think we're seeing that more and more in the league these days, or you get drafted to a team and they'll run you into the ground because you're their first round pick.
Yep.
But it takes getting away from that and rehabbed into a new system that really puts you out there. So, I'll just say it like this: Christian McCaffrey is a better running back in San Francisco than he ever was with the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
It's just the way it works.
So
So
who do you got winning here then?
uh, here's the thing. I feel bad, but I think that I have to go with Drew. I think that he's got the better quarterback. Um, Mike Evans is never projected like as one of those top 5 wide receivers, top
Hmm.
10. But boy, points wise, is he always a
He should be, which is ridiculous. I think they're just scared to project him that high.
yeah. So I love Mike Evans. When this offseason there's some talk about maybe him coming to Kansas City, I was sitting there like this, like, please, 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 please. But Mike Evans, I got to root for the guy. Zay Flowers, I don't know. Baltimore receivers, I don't know. You tell me how that works. Um, I'll go ahead and say I think that Baltimore's kicker will score more points this week than Zay Flowers. I think that's usually a decent bet. I like Jerome Ford in Cleveland because what else do they have going for them? Um, I actually like the Brian Robinson pick out of Washington. He looked pretty good in the week 1 game. Like I think they've got something there that they can really build around. And then you gotta hope that Ferguson is coming back in the mix, getting a little banged up with his knee. I think it was in
Hmm.
that game. So I hope he's back and ready to play. I think I think this is going to be one of those games where it's close, but in the end, it's going to boil down to can Josh's players actually play to the level they're projected to. If they all do, then they beat Drew. But I just don't know that that's going to happen because um, I don't know what to expect out of Malik Neighbors in the for the Giants. I don't trust DeAndre Swift with Chicago. Is Jamar Chase going to kick the rust off this week? Um, looking at that roster, to me, the 2 players that I think are the most likely to put up their actual numbers there, it's Rashee Rice and I think Zach Moss. Because again, I don't know what Cincy has going for them. If they can't figure stuff out, then maybe just handing off the ball is the only way to get going.
Hmm.
So I will take Drew, but I think it's going to be close. By 5 points decides the game. I think.
Um, Josh, you're lucky. McCaffrey's out and not healthy. Otherwise, this would be cake. Just to keep it simple. Josh, after this week, your team might be on life alert. um, I'm gonna be blunt. You got a running back problem.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
I think, and then you got a Cincinnati wide receiver in Chase, which I get, but then you also have Zach Moss. You got to get rid of one. I'd encourage you to probably try to get rid of Moss and get a different running back because I don't think you give up on Chase just yet. Uh, Chase will not get his projection this week, not against Kansas City in Kansas City. Chiefs are going to want to punch them in the mouth to continue making statements because this was another team that everyone's like, "Oh, Cincinnati's going to be back. Oh, it's Joe Burrow." No, I
Arrowhead.
yeah. So I mean, I could be wrong, but at least Patrick Mahomes could pick up a glass of water without getting hurt.
Yep. Yep.
So, um,
Yeah.
if
You're going to see the Burrowhead. Is what you're going to get.
Drew, I think your team it's serviceable right now. Christian McCaffrey's a massive hit. For your sake, hopefully he's back in due time. Um, Ford, I think as long as Cleveland doesn't lose faith in Watson, which is really close, I think you're set with Ford for a while. But that team lost all faith last week, so we'll see. Outside of that, I mean, looking at your bench, Josh, I would not give up on Metcalf yet.
Yep.
I just want. I'm not going to tell you what to do, except you know what I'd tell you what to do here without even saying it. There's a different player you should bench. Um, but one thing I will say, Josh, that one thing you do have going good for your team, I guess this is one of the things that's frustrating. You hit a home run on your keepers right now, but you didn't give it a good supporting cast with your draft. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe Drew will trade you Christian McCaffrey. There you go. But I'm gonna give it to Drew. It'll be a close week, and it's gonna be close because Christian McCaffrey's not playing. Josh, if your team plays its projection, you got a shot. Uh, man, your running backs. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yep.
Um. All right, we got AJ versus Ryan and Mark.
Oh boy. I'll just say it. I don't think this one's too hard to predict. After playing AJ, I feel like AJ pulls out this win. I think I think Dak Prescott has a better upside than Jared Goff right now. CeeDee Lamb is clearly a better option than Brandon Ayuk. Jameson Williams, though, what a game he had! Like that was pretty impressive. So I love what they've got there. I think that Bijan Robinson can probably have some pretty good points brought out against Philly's D. Um, I'm still not crazy about that Devin Singletary pick uh,
Mm-mm.
for Ryan and Mark. I don't know what to expect with Travis Kelsey because I'll be quite honest, he did not look up to form in Week 1, and Noah Gray had basically the exact amount of points, touches, all that stuff. So I really have to wonder if there is something to that rumor that the Chiefs are going to put Kelsey on like a snap count in hopes that they can keep him healthy to where they don't have to worry about him in the preseason. I mean, the postseason. So I wonder if there is some truth to that right now. But um, I like what AJ is doing, and I'll give you props throwing Jordan Mason into that flex. I like it. I like it. So I think AJ pulls that out. Um, I don't know that I think it's close, but I'm gonna go ahead and just say here that I think the really solid moves here. It's not AJ. I think it's Tommy.
See,
I really.
we got to start remembering to say Tommy too, because it's
Yeah,
for, always used to it just being AJ. There's one year as AJ and Clark, but it's been mostly AJ over the years. But he has Tommy, so it's AJ and Tommy versus Mark and Ryan. So,
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to AJ and Tommy. And when I say AJ and Tommy, I actually mean Tommy, the one who can actually run for 150 yards in a game right now. So
so I'm also gonna give it to AJ and Tommy. Man, having Mason, their weakness was running back.
mhm.
Oh, jeez. Like
they
this is a
got
team I don't want to play. Like I don't want to play this team. Um, I mean, your wide receivers are nasty. Uh, I think going down from position, the only thing that Ryan and Mark have is Bijan Robinson going for him. Kelsey, maybe. It just depends. I could see Kelsey bouncing back quite a bit this week. Um, but
I'll say bounce back. A Cincinnati team is the kind of team that will bring that out in him
yeah.
because the smack talk and the build up to that, the storyline. So that's the kind of team that can bring that out in Kelsey. I think.
So Yeah, AJ and Tommy. I'm giving it to.
See, didn't really need that much talk on it.
Not that one. All right.
Who else
Mickey
we got?
B versus Cameron.
Oh boy,
Now with Cameron, he has uh,
he's got
he has
he's got.
Mostert in the starting lineup who's out,
Yep,
so he'll have to figure that out, and then he needs a kicker, which is typical.
yep.
Um, Man, just
So,
looking at his team real quick though, I almost think he has to play the upside of playing Jaron Will or Jeff Wilson's pretty high. Uh, Playing Mitchell, maybe. Man, I'd almost rather have Pierce. I think for possible home run hitter. I think he's still sitting out there.
mhm.
Um, I don't know. My guess is he's gonna play Jeff Wilson to play for Mostert.
I think that he's either going to do Jeff Wilson or maybe Jalen Warren against Denver's defense. Again, I have like zero faith in Najee Harris. I think Jalen Warren is better play anyway. But yeah, he's going to have to put one of those guys in. What would really benefit him right now is if he could go trade with Mike to get J.K. Dobbins. But yeah, so looking at that, let's say you put in Jeff Wilson. They're projecting him somewhere around what 5, 6 points.
Right
And
now, but A Chain
yeah, and
might
then
be out too.
yeah, so if that's then in theory he would bump up to probably almost double digit. And they add in a kicker. Let's just assume that's probably another 8, maybe 9 points. So realistically, projection wise, I think Cameron could get up to a projection of 100 if he gets those positions filled by Thursday night. Um, that being said, uh, I forgot that Mike had Achan. So if Achan's out, then that changes up Mike's lineup too. So I'm gonna base this on what I think is going to be the major factors here. I think your quarterbacks are going to be playing into deciding this game. So I do think Kyler Murray is probably the better option, and I think that maybe he can get some more points against the Rams defense than Baker Mayfield can get against the Detroit Lions because holy cow, the Detroit Lions have gotten nasty this year. Like
They're
I
going to be one of the better teams in the NFC.
and I think they really, really fixed some of their questions on defense. They've got some power. So I'm gonna just do this in what I like and what I don't like. Mike, I don't like your wide receivers. I hate DJ Moore, any receiver for Chicago. I just don't like it. That entire cast is the only thing that carried Caleb Williams. He looked basically ineffective. So if I do get the chance to say I want to change who I think rookie of the year is, I want to jump off the Caleb Williams thing. I don't want to say that anymore because that was not good. Um, I don't really care for Tank Dell. I think Nico Collins is the better receiver, and Stephon Diggs came out and looked pretty dang good.
Hmm.
So I'd rather have those two than Tank Dell. I like Laporta at your tight end. I think Kyron Williams is a good play. Rashad White, he's serviceable. I don't think he ever is going to have those huge games for you, but uh, I think Mike's projection is about what it needs to be. But looking at what Cameron has available, I think Cooper Kupp is primed for a big day. If Marvin Harrison even just slightly gets on track, I think that can be really good. Jameer Gibbs, I like that a lot. And I think that Evan Ingram is going to really look up this week because it was not a good outing for him last week. He had 1 point. So I think they're going to focus on trying to get the ball to Evan Ingram in Jacksonville, especially against a Cleveland team that is rough, absolutely rough. Like, I might even say, if I was Cameron, I might think about not playing Amari Cooper just because Deshaun Watson just does not look like he can do anything. And for that matter, can't do anything off the field either because current rate, here he is again, same charges. Uh, you know what? They might just decide that's enough to where they can just be done with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with an upset here. I'm going to take Cameron, but I'm going to say it's by a very small margin.
So this one was tough. I am going to give it to Mike, not by much. Uh, I'm not a fan of Mike's team. I know I've been pretty critical of Cameron's team, but his team's going to get better. I think when the season ends, he's going to easily be in the middle of the pack. Mike's team, I don't know. Baker Mayfield, revenge game in Detroit, at Detroit. We'll see. I can see that being just a pounding
Yep.
against Tampa. If that happens, Mike, you're losing.
Yep.
You need Tampa Bay to show up that game. You got the QB running back combo. Stuff it. Um, Not the biggest fan of your wide receivers either. I do like your running backs for what that's worth. I know you usually play Joe Burrow. I think this is the right play. I'd probably do this too, unless for whatever reason T. Higgins is going to play for Cincinnati and he's healthy. But I think with how things are currently lining out, I think Mayfield is the right play this week. Uh, Laporta, I mean, I don't care. Play him every week. He should always be number one every single week. Um, Chiefs defense, I think, honestly, my opinion is going to get you more points than that. Uh, when it comes to Cameron's team, you got a divisional game between Arizona and the Rams. So I don't think it's going to go his way this week, but I could see Arizona showing up. I know they did not get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball much last week, so I see that changing this week. Cameron does have the Wombo combo ready to warming up. Um, Cup, I mean, his first three players, he could easily have 70 points. I don't think it's going to happen, but divisional game, that's going to be one way or the other. I don't know. I think if A Chain is out, I think Cameron has a shot to win if he plays Wilson. But with Mostert out, I agree. You should bench Cooper. I don't know if he can afford to because he doesn't really have a lot of good options. Um, I think there's just enough. There's enough going for Mike. I don't think either team is going to get their projection this week. So I give it to Mike barely. Uh, Cam, your team's just not ready. Not yet. It's getting there. So is that our first matchup that we've split? No, you picked
No.
Steve and I picked Taylor.
Yep.
All right.
So
We're going to transition over to your matchup against Andrew.
do you want to take first one on this, or you want me to just go ahead?
If you want to go for it, go.
All right. So what I'm projecting here is very similar to what I think is going to happen in Kansas City when Cincinnati comes to town. The Burrowhead beatdown is what I'm predicting here. See, I look at Orschland's team and I see no quarterback. So, I guess Andrew's just waiting to put in Trevor Lawrence just because. But I'm not scared by Trevor Lawrence. And again, Devontae Adams, your boy, plays for a bad team. And they're going up against Baltimore, who is really, really mad. So, Baltimore, you remember watching Remember the Titans? And there's that one scene in there where things are getting really rough. And then they're playing dirty. And then the coach gets the defensive coordinator gets so upset that he pulls the defense aside and he goes, We are not going to give them another yard. We blitz all night. That is what is going to happen to the Raiders. Baltimore's defense is going to be so mad after this past week. They are going to literally put them into the ground. It's going to be bad. So Baltimore very much coming in a prove it game after that last week. So I do not think Devontae Adams gets you 10 points. I think it's probably more like 2. Nico Collins, love it, but they're playing Chicago, man. And Joe Mixon just ran for 150 yards, something like that. So
It's 130, I think.
huh?
It's like 130 something, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know that they have to throw the ball that much to beat Chicago, if I'm honest. So I don't think that Nico's going to have to put up a monster day here. Jonathan Taylor against Green Bay, I think that's going to be your biggest saving grace. And then, I like Ramondre Stevenson. Again, that's what New England figured out. Oh, we don't really have a great system to be throwing, but we can just ground and pound all day. Okay. So, yeah, I think you got something there. But again, Andrew playing 2 Raiders players, I don't like it. Me, I've got CJ Stroud. So every time that Nico Collins scores, well, you're welcome. That's my quarterback. Debo Samuel looked pretty dang good helping out with McCaffrey out. I'll take that. Chris Godwin actually was the leading receiver for the Bucks, not Mike Evans last week. I still hate Derrick Henry, by the way. Absolutely hate him. It feels dirty in my mind that he is on my roster. So the right person comes up with a good trade offer, please come talk to me.
There you go,
No, Josh.
Josh.
No, Price is not good. Remember, I don't like having similar players in my skill positions because I've got the king keeper, Isaiah Pacheco. Love him to death. That's my boy. Also, just found out that his jersey is $80 on NFL Shop right now. I might have to go blow the money on it, to be honest, just because. Oh, so happy. And then Alvin Kamara might actually be my best running back right now. So I have what I've been trying to do for years, which is to just be like, no, screw it. I'm going to have 3 starting running backs. I've been trying to do it for years, and somehow somebody always gets injured and it's ruined.
Mm-hmm.
Please this year. That's all I'm asking. So I say it's me. I think I win. I think that this is very much a revenge game for me. And yeah, I'm going to take my frustrations out from losing to AJ on Andrew, another form of Andrew. So I'm going to say me by at least 10, if not 20 or 30.
So I'm also going to pick you, but your team needs to show up this week. I think Andrew's team, even with Lawrence in there, will show up. I don't like White either. I don't like playing two Raiders, a running back and a wide receiver. You're just asking for it. Um, I I mean, after seeing Stevenson last week, I think he has a good little combo with running backs between Taylor and Stevenson. Very, I'd say probably better than most teams. Some other teams are struggling. I can't say he has good depth unless the Raiders start playing from ahead. Um, so I think Andrew's team will show up enough. Like if you don't score 100 this week for whatever reason, then I could see you losing. I think Andrew's team is capable of hitting 100. Uh,
Yeah.
I think you're gonna win because I do think your team is gonna show up pretty big this week. Um, man, it's losing love hurts. I mean, Worthy, you put him in there, which I would imagine he's going to. I would. But Andrew's gonna
Look,
do what he's gonna do.
if you're going to leave in Zamir White, you deserve the loss. Like you leaving Worthy or even Ezekiel Elliott on your bench in favor of Zamir White, you know what? I'm going to text Josie and have her rag on you that entire night if you do that. I will just remind Josie to tell you that You suck at fantasy football. Why do you play? All you does is make you mad. I'm gonna make sure you get that whole talk if you're white in your lineup.
So, but yeah, I give it to Ben. I do think your team is going to show up pretty big, but if it doesn't, Andrew can beat you. 'Cause I think Andrew's good for 100 points this week. So, um, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. Uh,
Yep. Oh, so now we're at the matchup of the week.
Matchup of the week: the two teams in the top of the power rankings. Rob and I versus Clark. Um,
Feel like you should actually start this one off. I really want your
I
thoughts on.
it's so this past week I took a hit, lost Puka, and he was doing pretty good until he got hurt. He even tried to come back and then went back out again. He's on IR now. I know right now I have Brown in the lineup. I'm not leaning towards keeping that. Rob and I, we need to talk that one through a little bit. Um, Hopefully Jacobs is going to be fine and play this week. If he doesn't, then I am going to be hurting a little bit. Uh, but I mean, if I go by position between Jalen Hurts and Mahomes, both players underperformed last week in terms of fantasy. Really, Jalen Hurts didn't do bad. If he didn't turn the ball over his first two drives, he would have had north of 20 points.
Yep.
Um, Man, it's the one way that I'll be okay if I lose this matchup is if Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith light it up and we win. We should beat the Falcons. That shouldn't be a problem. I care about my Eagles as long as they win. I'm happy. So Clark, if they light it up and Eagles win, I'll be smiling. I'll be happy for you. But hopefully those are the only players that do anything. Uh Man, Tyreek Hill is still Tyreek Hill though. I don't know if I break this down by position. Let me look real quick. If I don't have Brown in there, honestly, I we are McConkey had a good game, week one. Had plenty of targets. Nothing big, but yeah, we have options. McConkey. We're not going to play Hopkins against the Jets. Cooks is an option. Lazard is also an option. Um, Honestly, we'll likely end up playing likely this week over Bowers.
I
Uh,
figured.
so going by quarterback, I'm going to call that a wash between those two wide receivers. I think I got you beat just because Hill does so much. Even if I keep Brown in there, I think I have you beat. But that's not a It's not like a big confident thing. Uh, Reed is under projected in my opinion. I think Reed should be projected more than what he is at. So, well, man, see, I think I got you beat just a little bit on wide receivers. Running backs, this one I have you beat, but man, Saquon could beat all three of mine, depending on what he does. But outside of Saquon, you got nothing at running back. So Pollard, he did his job last week. I don't think that's going to happen consistently. You're playing the Jets if they get their act together. Maybe if they sign Riddick, then problems will go away. Tight end, I know you have Kittle. He's one of the most talented tight ends in the league. It's all or nothing with him. I don't think you're going to get much. It's like one out of every 3 or 4 games he'll show up, and when he shows up, it's big. It's like really if Kyle Shanahan puts him in the uh, uh, oh the script for that game or whatever. It's like okay, I'm gonna get you involved this week. Um, Defense, wash, kicker, wash. Guess what? Not that you needed it, but glad you listened last week. You listened to Ben. He told you to get a different kicker, and you did it. And what made it funny is you went and got another Eagle. So, Clark, I think I'm gonna pick Rob and I. That the bias in me is there. Um, but man, Barkley, Clark, your team might become something else because of Barkley. If Barkley plays at an MVP level on the Eagles, you're another team I don't want to play against. Reed, he's underprojected. Now he took a hit with Love being out, so we'll see. So I guess that's fair. Maybe he's being projected correctly right now. But yeah, I think I got you beat, not by much. I think we'll both score over 100, easily both over 110.
Yep.
I got you beat.
I think you had a very good breakdown on that, if I'm being honest. It's your guys' quarterbacks. I think that most of us would kill to have those as our quarterbacks. So I don't know there's an advantage to give there. Um, I really do think it's more than anything. It may just boil down to who has a better game, Tyreek or Saquon. Like I think that may actually just be the deciding factor, and I think Saquon has the better matchup there. Uh, so I'm going to go ahead and say that I do think Clark pulls out this win, and that's only partially because he was a good boy and he listened about getting a different kicker. but
If he
no,
were to listen to you this week, is there anything he should do with his team,
oh,
or is it good as is?
the problem is that I don't know that there's anything he can do to really change it up. Like looking at that lineup, like I think you and I would both agree that George Pickens may be the weakest part of that entire lineup. And but that's again one of those cases of okay, but he still had double digits last week, so
Mm-hmm.
um, I think there's not much to do because, like, again, George Kittle, he's probably normally averaging getting you 5-6 points. So I don't ever believe his projections. Um, but I think that he's got a lot of things in play. He's got good matchups this week. I like Mahomes against Cincinnati. I like basically the Eagles against Atlanta always right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, if I don't know if Justin Fields is still the starter for the Steelers, or do they put in Russell Wilson and be like, we get it, we're playing your old team, here you go. Because if that is a revenge game for Russell Wilson, then yeah, George Pickens might be the target that he uses to inflict his wrath, if you will. But there's some of that thinking. But I do like what Tony Pollard did. I don't think he can reproduce that against the Jets defense.
Yeah.
And Jordan Reed, who's throwing him the ball. I mean, I know it's Malik Willis, isn't it?
I think that's right.
So, like, look, if Reed can get the catch, he's going to do crazy stuff. The
Yeah.
kid is. But I think what really is the deciding factor is who has the better game, Tyreek or Saquon. And I think Tyreek has more of an uphill battle against Buffalo than Saquon does against Atlanta. And I just throw it out there, but LA defense, I mean, the Chargers are playing arguably the worst team in the league. So that might help. But
Yeah.
I say slight advantage Clark because he listened so well last week. That's what I'm going with.
All
But
right.
I still think points wise, after week 2, you guys are still the top 2 points wise. Like I think no matter what happens, I think both you guys still score the highest in the league. So just one of you is going to be 2-0, the other is going to be 1-1.
Yeah. Clark, let's make
So,
it a shootout.
yep.
So, all right. That's it for week 2 matchups. Um, can't say really have anything else, any other topics. We're already past the hour. Um,
Yeah.
I think we're going to wrap it up there. We'll be here again next week. Maybe we'll have a guest next week. We'll kind of see how that plays out. Um, but yeah. Um, so I tell you what, if you guys want a guest, talk in Discord. Pick who you want as a guest. Could be Cameron, who I've been hating on his team. Could be little Josh that's in panic mode. Uh, team.
If it's Josh, then I think that we need to actually have an auction for his team. Trying to get somebody to trade with him or something. So,
Um, or maybe if we have a big trade, we could bring two people on.
mhm.
So, all right, how about we do that? If there's a big trade this week, I'll have two guests on next week on the show to join Ben and I.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. If there's no big trades, then it might just stick to me and Ben, or we'll pick somebody last second. So, all right, everyone. As always, if you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you all next week. Peace.